Welcome to CARICOMP Insider, where high-tech facial recognition meets real-world intelligence.
On May 23, 2026, temperatures at Dover hit 30 degrees Celsius. Thousands of vehicles sat in queues stretching back for hours. And French border police quietly turned off the EU's brand new biometric fingerprint system, the one Brussels spent years building, just to keep traffic moving. That system is called EES, the Entry-Exit System. It's supposed to capture fingerprints and facial images from every non-EU traveler crossing into Europe. If you've traveled to Europe in the last 8 months, or you're planning a trip this summer, your biometric data is part of this. And if you haven't traveled, your government is watching this rollout as a model for what border security looks like everywhere. The EU launched EES in October of 2025 with a clear promise: every traveler, every crossing, full biometric enrollment, no exceptions. In 6 months, the system logged 66 million border crossings. It flagged more than 600 people the EU says posed a security risk. Those are real numbers. But on the ground, at the busiest ports and ferry terminals, a very different story is playing out. So what happens when a security mandate meets a 4-hour traffic jam in the summer heat? At Dover, the answer was straightforward. According to port officials, French border police invoked a clause already written into the EES rules, one that allows border posts to suspend biometric collection for up to 6 hours when queues become unmanageable. That clause was designed as an emergency fallback, a pressure valve, but it's being used as a routine operating tool. And Dover isn't even applying EES to everyone right now. Only coach passengers are required to register. Eurostar first-class passengers? They're using separate exemptions. So even before the system got suspended, it wasn't running at full capacity. Dover isn't alone. In southern Spain, the checkpoints at Algeciras and Tarifa, major ferry crossings to Morocco, have seen similar bottlenecks. Vehicles backed up waiting to board ferries, while EES processing slowed everything down. According to Biometric Update, Greece stopped collecting fingerprints and facial images from British travelers altogether, without formal authorization from Brussels. Greek police said they'd take whatever measures were necessary to keep visitors moving, citing existing EU legislation. That's a polite way of saying they made the call on their own, and the staffing picture makes all of this worse. According to the CEO of Advantage Travel Partnership, a major UK travel agency consortium, local border forces haven't provided enough staff to guide travelers through the new system. Nobody hired more people. Instead, the people on the ground are solving the problem the only way they can, by suspending checks. That's not a technology failure. It's a logistics gap being papered over with policy workarounds. For anyone who's ever waited in a customs line wondering why it takes so long, this is why. The system was built for security. It wasn't built for a Friday afternoon in July. The scale numbers tell you both sides of this story at once. Daily fingerprint checks against EU databases jumped from about 17,000 to roughly 87,000. That's a 5-fold increase in daily processing volume. The system is handling enormous throughput. But enormous throughput is exactly what creates the pressure that forces exemptions. The EU flagged those 600 security risks across 66 million crossings. That's a detection rate so small you'd need a magnifying glass to find it in a spreadsheet. The security value is real, but it's being weighed against millions of hours of cumulative delay for ordinary travelers. Brussels knows all of this. The European Commission said publicly that the legal framework does not allow blanket or long-term exemptions for specific nationalities. Member states are expected to comply. But, and this matters, no specific sanctions exist for non-compliance. The 6-hour suspension provision is available through at least July and possibly into September. So the rule says comply. The enforcement mechanism says nothing. That combination, built-in flexibility plus no penalty for going further, creates selective enforcement by default. For investigators and compliance officers, that pattern is familiar. For the rest of us, it means the biometric border you were told exists may not actually be running when you cross it. The EU didn't build a biometric border that failed. It built a biometric border that works, and then discovered that working isn't the same as scaling. The system catches security threats. It just can't do it at the speed that summer travel demands. So, plain and simple, the EU rolled out a massive fingerprint and facial recognition system at its borders last October. It's processed 66 million crossings and caught real security threats. But at the busiest ports, Dover, southern Spain, Greece, governments are quietly suspending the checks whenever lines get too long, using legal loopholes that were supposed to be emergency only. Whether you're assessing border security policy or just booking a flight to Lisbon, the biometric checkpoint you're expecting might not be there when you arrive. That gap between what's promised and what's practiced, that's worth understanding. The full story's in the description if you want the deep dive.
Now you know something most people in this industry don't. Use it. And when you're ready to put it to work, caracomp.com. We'll see you tomorrow.